Okay, I promised I wasn't going to throw anybody under the bus, but I did I wanted So Chill to take a moment and do her juggling routine that she promised everybody she was going to do right now.
Yay, So Chill.
Okay, no
No,
juggling
I'm
routine.
I'm just kidding. But she did say she was going to do her impression of Kim Costa for everybody viewing. So go ahead, So Chill.
Oh, I wish I had a good impression of Kim Costa, but she's one of a kind, impossible to duplicate.
That's right. I agree. Kim is one of a kind. Often, what is it? Often replicated, never duplicated. Often impersonated. Something like that.
Something like that.
That's never duplicated.
I'm blushing, guys. I'm blushing.
Hello, welcome back, everyone. We're super excited to have you with us today. If you're tuning back from previous webinars, you know we love to talk about some ways to streamline your business operations and make the tools that you're using work for you. Today's topic is one that you've asked for, and it's one I'm especially excited to dive into. Is there such a thing as a perfect HubSpot implementation? Before we answer that, we have some pretty heavy hitters joining the call today, other than the usuals, Beth and Kim. Joining me today are Beth and Kim, but also So Chill and Aaron. If you've forgotten from the last call, from the last webinar, Kim is our VP of Sales and Marketing. Beth is our head of marketing. So like Kim is like the body, and Beth is specifically just the head part. And then you can laugh there. That's a laugh spot.
Yeah, no, that was an interesting description.
I actually wrote in.
I'm not sure how you feel about that, Beth.
I wrote in that everyone will laugh here, so go ahead and do
Everyone will laugh. Got it.
Okay.
Wow, great. And then So Chill is our HubSpot onboarding lead, and Naren works on our integration team, getting data into HubSpot to enable HubSpot users. So let's cut to the stuff. Quick reminder, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We love to answer your questions in real time, and also it gives us good content ideas for later. But just to make sure that everybody watching has the right context to really understand what we're talking about and what implementation is, Kim, could you give us like a quick overview of what HubSpot is?
Definitely. All right, let me share my screen. So HubSpot, for those of you who are not aware, is a CRM, a customer relationship management system. This is a platform that you can use to keep track of all of your customers, what they're doing, their requests, everything in between. So in HubSpot, you're going to see the little HubSpot sprocket on the left-hand side, and the full menu that you can navigate from is on the left. So you're going to use HubSpot two different ways. One is as a user, and another way is as an admin. Users are going to use HubSpot specifically from this left menu. For instance, if you're wanting to know about your contacts, the people you talk to at another company, click into contacts, and you're going to be able to see a list of all of the people that your company interacts with here. If you click on any individual contact record, on the left-hand side, you're going to be able to see specific details about that contact. The right-hand side, you're going to be able to see everything that's happened with that contact since they've been a contact in your CRM. And on the right-hand side, you're going to see everything else associated with that contact. So have they ever bought anything from you? Have they ever had a ticket with your company? So on and so forth. HubSpot also has really cool reporting functionality. So you're going to be able to take all of the records that you have in your CRM and report on them together to have meaningful information for your team. So anything that you put in your CRM, you can report on, and it provides a lot of valuable insights for your company, having all of your data in one spot, everything actionable in one place. Nick, you look like you have something to say.
Yeah, I also had a question. Beth, I'm going to come to you with this one. We're talking about implementing HubSpot. What is the gold standard? What should all companies aspire for when they're talking about implementing HubSpot?
There's definitely a few key components that can really make or break your HubSpot setup. So processes, data, automation. Those are my top three. And then ultimately, how well you integrate HubSpot into your broader business operations really makes a huge difference. But I think we've already given Sochil a little bit of a pat on the back. I think to dive in deeper into this, I'm going to pass it over to her. She's in the trenches every day and she's leading those implementations with our customers. So she's that expert and the perfect person to answer this for you.
Thanks, Beth. So while setting up your HubSpot, main goals and business processes can vary widely from company to company, but there is one constant. No matter your company's goals, regardless of whatever you are really trying to achieve, the foundation is always going to be the same, and that is data. In other words, your HubSpot is only as powerful as the data that you feed it, and how that data is structured and how the data is used. If your data is a mess, your HubSpot is going to be a mess. And let's be clear, data can come from multiple sources and can even be integrated into HubSpot. We all know HubSpot is a great CRM tool and it's great for automation and customer services. But if it doesn't have good and clean and very well structured data feeding into it, it's going to be like trying to drive a car without fuel. And it doesn't matter how advanced the tool is. It's not going to perform at its best.
Okay, so here's a question. In another webinar we did recently, we broke down the difference between structured and unstructured data. Is this something that relates to HubSpot too? Does HubSpot have structured and unstructured data?
So glad you asked, Nick. Yes, HubSpot has both types of data. So as a really quick refresher for the people who didn't watch that awesome video, which was not John Logan, he watched it. Structured data is the organized data that is stored based on the data architecture of HubSpot. This is neat and clean and easy to work with. It is structured in the fields and it specifies even what type of data you can collect in that area. So for instance, a drop-down list that limits the type of outputs, that is an example of structured data. Now, we also have unstructured data in HubSpot. This is the random notes, the emails, the calls, the chats, all of that different type of stuff that you might have in your CRM. And this can vary in consistency from user to user and also based on the type of customer that you're chatting with. You could never control the type of emails that you have inbound to be in the same format and to follow the same structures and so on and so forth, making these unstructured. Now, all of that unstructured data actually accounts for over 80% of the data that your business has. So that's a pretty significant statistic. So a thoughtful and quote unquote perfect implementation of HubSpot needs to consider how to use both structured and unstructured data to accomplish your business goals.
And to briefly add to that, Kim, while HubSpot can handle both types of data, the challenge is how to manage and feed this data into HubSpot without creating silos or inefficiencies. This is where companies really need to consider the types of data that they have and where it lives. Oftentimes, data, this foundational piece of implementation, involves integrations.
Okay, so I think I'm reaching here, but Beth, help me out if I'm wrong. I think I remember hearing that HubSpot has found that the most successful implementations have between like 7 to 10 integrations. If that's the case, then that's really interesting because that means there's both a bottom of the line and a top of the line of how many integrations that you might want.
Yeah, and you absolutely nailed it, Nick. You got that stat right on. So
7 to 10, is that right?
Yeah, 7 to 10 is that sweet spot for HubSpot integrations. But we find that with 1,000 apps, I mean, HubSpot's got tons of apps in their marketplace. It's really difficult to know where to start. I mean, if you've seen our videos a few times, Kim shouted out my dad, by the way, because my dad has watched every video. Despite not being in the industry, he's really enjoying learning all about CRMs and implementation.
Oh, wow. I thought you was talking about the playwright, John Logan.
Oh.
Read about Mark Rothko. Your dad? Oh, okay, cool.
We've talked time and time again. The best place to start here is data. So thinking about the data that is critical to your business processes. There are certain integrations that are quite popular and fairly standard. Things like email, calendar, social media. When we analyze data from customers we work with every day, we actually found consistent trends. ERP, e-commerce, and phone platforms are also among the most commonly used. Keep in mind, that doesn't mean that these are the only integrations that matter. There's tons, and it really depends on the unique nature of your business.
Interesting. Okay. So jumping in, I know that we spoke about a few key components to a successful implementation, but before we get back to that, I want to ask one more question about integrations. And Naren, you're probably the best person to ask. Now, echoing Beth, keep in mind, I'm not nearly as technical as you, so please go easy. But give me the okay, you're ChatGPT, you're talking to a fifth grader, you're a fifth grade teacher, and I am your student. Give me that version of how to integrate data into HubSpot.
Okay, I'll try, but I'm happy to help, Nick. So when you integrate data, you read data from one system to write it to another system. Now, there are many ways to read data. We have ODBC, SQL, API, but in general, to write data, you need the API. So the first thing the first step is knowing which system you are going to read from and which system you will write into, and making sure you have access to the appropriate tools to complete the desired action, reading or writing. Now, a lot of people think that the best thing to do is integrate all data everywhere, but that's not always the case. You want to think about where your source of truth is. An area where we see businesses struggle is when they attempt to have two sources of truth for the same type of data. That can cause process issues. So in general, you need to identify one source of truth of the information you want and read the data from the source of truth and write it into the new system. Let's think about HubSpot. HubSpot doesn't have an inventory object. So if you wanted your inventory data in HubSpot, think about not just all of the places you can find inventory for your company, but where is this source of truth? Usually this will be an ERP. That is where we want to read from to bring that data to HubSpot. Then, while we consider data, we also need to be thoughtful about where to put that in HubSpot. How do you want that data captured? What do you indeed do with it? So all of this is important with data.
Got it. Okay. So data is number one, source of truth is number two. Is there a number three?
Is this me?
I think so. Yeah. What else? Yeah. So chill. What else?
Well, Nick, let's talk about processes and automation together. Most companies that buy HubSpot already have existing processes, and that means that they already have ways that they add products and that they have built out their own sales processes, and they already have their marketing channels and campaigns and a whole bunch of things. So the trick is to incorporate existing processes into HubSpot and find ways to enhance them using the features that HubSpot gives you, which are amazing and varied. So this involves understanding the individual processes that already exist and then deciding which of those processes are now going to be managed in HubSpot. And then it's all going to be about optimizing those automations and the reporting that HubSpot gives you, and essentially making it work for you as a platform.
Okay. So I'm not in HubSpot all day like you are, only on the weekends for me. So can you give me an example?
Of course. So here's a really easy one when thinking about a sales process. When leads come in, companies need to lay out processes and figure out how to work them. So they have to ask themselves, do they go directly to sales, or are there other qualification steps? Are leads going to be broken out regionally or by product? How does routing work? When is a lead qualified for the sales team? And when it is qualified, who should receive that lead? And how should they get that lead, and so on? So you can see that while this is an easy topic, there could be quite a few variations of this from one company to another. So this is an example where we need to understand the desired process so that it can then be built into HubSpot. And in a perfect world, build some automations around this whole process. Like, we can use automations to automatically assign the lead to a certain user based on rules. Or we can even set up notifications to alert people in specific ways about different activities. And this is just one example, obviously. And in a full implementation, you are going to have to consider all of the processes that the business has. And this can feel overwhelming. So a good rule of thumb is to start with only 3 things at a time, and then prioritize those based on the impact that they have on daily operations. High impact processes should be considered first.
Okay. So let's switch the conversation around. We've been talking about what the good practices are when implementing HubSpot. Do care about your data and do consider processes and figure out how HubSpot can automate and enhance processes and integrate data. Most important. These are the things that we should be focusing on. On the flip side, what things should we avoid? Like what things complicate implementation unnecessarily?
We can always count on you for the loaded questions, Nick. That's a great one. So if you're already considering all these good things, as you do very well, the main areas where we see people struggle is in choosing the right partner or agency to help you, and also in training. So at Commercient, we're a HubSpot solutions partner ourselves, and we do a lot of these implementations here in-house. But we also understand that we are stronger when we align with other partners that are experts in specific use cases. So Commercient's strong suit is ERP and Sales Hub, but there's other partners who specialize in other areas of an implementation. And I strongly recommend you find a partner or partners who are truly experts in what you're trying to achieve as a business. The second thing is training. Businesses that don't invest the proper amount of time and effort into training can see a 5-star implementation fail. An implementation is only as good as the day-to-day operations that fuel it, that, are used every day to do it. So if you don't prepare your team for what processes exist in HubSpot and how to really use them day to day, they're not going to be successful. So don't skip on the training. Now, in most cases, if you're working with a partner, they're actually going to train your team for you. But just to flag that, training is super important.
Just before you hop back in there, Nick, I just thought it might be a really great time to point out that we have some incredible partners here at Commercient that we work with. Bob and his team from Campaign Creators, Doug from Wend Partners. I'm trying to think of the one that I saw recently, Nathan and Gabrielle, sorry. From On the Fuse. There's so many of them, and we have so many great partners. It's really great to have those niche partners for those unique cases.
Yeah, absolutely. And I won't hold it against you for stealing my line and my brownie points. I could have shouted them out too. I was going to do that. I appreciate you jumping ahead and doing that for me. We do have really great partners.
They're
As the head of
awesome.
partnerships, that's why I'm salty. I just feel like that's, I appreciate it, Beth. Thank you. We have great partners. Okay, Beth, you are Charlie AI, and you are you are a AI agent that knows how to summarize really complex, highly valuable conversations. Could you please sum up this conversation?
Well, let's do it. So like a burrito from Chipotle, let's wrap it up here. So some really important things for us to think about. Make sure that you're thinking about the data that you want in HubSpot and the structure that you set up. This might mean adding those integrations, and make sure you take a close look at your existing processes and look at ways for HubSpot to enhance them. Don't skimp on training. You've heard me say this one time and time again. Choose the right partner to guide you through that implementation. At the end of the day, your HubSpot should be tailored to support your business goals. It's a flexible platform, not a one-size-fits-all solution. So when implementing with intention, it can align with your objectives and amplify collaboration across marketing, sales, service teams. That's where HubSpot really shines. One key factor in your success, giving your team access to everything they need in one place. With that right data structure behind it, HubSpot empowers faster decision-making, quicker customer responses, and more personalized client interactions.
Yeah.
I love everything you said, Beth, except I'm kind of a Qdoba girl, not a Chipotle girl, just for the record.
Sorry.
Just flagging that for the record.
I'm more of a kava guy, but they don't do burritos. So it's like apples and oranges, I guess.
Yeah, completely different things, eh?
Yeah. Okay. Hey, before we start back at the beginning and do our Spanish, then Mandarin, then Russian iterations of this, let's take some questions for the English audience. That's a joke. We're only doing English episodes.
So Chill and Naren looked so worried.
Where was the laugh track there, Nick? We didn't get like the round of applause.
We could do the Spanish.
Really relying on the laugh tracks to make it clear that everything I say is a joke. Nothing is serious. That's not there. Everyone's confused. Let's take some questions. Shelly has written, I don't think our process aligns with what HubSpot offers. Okay. Our sales team is divided into different branches by what we sell. We sell services and products and their unique sales processes. This feels like something complicated to align with HubSpot. What options are there? So Chill, can you help me? Or Shelly?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Great question, Shelly. There is actually a way to manage that in HubSpot. You can do that through pipelines. Pipelines are a Sales Hub feature that you can definitely use for that purpose. You can have multiple pipelines to support unique sales processes. So each pipeline can have its own stages. So for example, you may have your services pipeline that has unique and specific steps, and then you can have an additional pipeline for your inventory, for your physical inventory, right? And this one can have completely different steps, and HubSpot is going to 100% support this setup. So you can have all of your unique processes in the same platform.
This is great. I see why we brought So Chill here, guys.
I know, like, best addition ever.
I was sweating as I was reading, and then So Chill just, yeah, great. Scott is asking about his on-prem systems. Okay, he says, integration is great and all, but my systems are not cloud-based. I have on-prem Sage 300. Are there options out there for that? Naren, the integration guy, can you speak to that?
Yeah. So Sage 300, right? Cloud-based systems are easier to connect to. Yes. They have APIs that are readily available, and many companies support these types of integrations. But API is not the only way to connect or access your data. We can also connect to data in other ways, and this allows for integration with on-premise systems like Sage 300. Don't quote me on this because I'm not looking at my numbers, but off the top of my head, I think of at least a dozen Sage 300 ACC pack and CRE integrations that I have been part of.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks, Naren. Last question. This is for anybody. Anybody can take this one. I may even take it. This is from Bhavesh. After initial setup is complete, what type of ongoing management should we expect for admin on our HubSpot? Another good question.
Nick, you're going to take that one?
Yeah, so that's going to depend on a few things. No, I'm just kidding. Please, you take it.
Okay, so the main thing is change management. So some companies set up HubSpot and processes remain relatively consistent long-term after that. So if this describes you, admin of the HubSpot org is probably going to be really manageable in-house. But the more often you're changing your processes internally, the more likely it's going to be that you need new workflows or you want to see new reports or whatever it is that may be needed. So there's a few options there. Some companies prefer to keep ongoing management in-house and will actually designate a HubSpot champion to admin that account. Depending on your resources, other times they'll lean on a partner for this long-term management. So there's no right or wrong answer. The decision really comes down to your resources and budget. At the end of the day, the more your processes change, the higher that admin lift is going to be. And I know everyone makes fun of my hands moving. I kept them down under the table. Could you guys tell they were just all over the place the whole time?
I didn't get a notification that you raised your hand this time.
I know. I mean, I'm getting better.
Yeah. Okay, so I was right. That did depend. It depends on a few things. So I could have answered that, is what you're saying.
You would have killed it.
Oh, I should have trusted myself. Okay. Well, we're out of time. And it feels like we just started. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. At Commercient, we're always happy to help you get the most out of your CRM and ERP systems. I always say that. That's my catchphrase. If you have any questions at all, if you have a topic that you want us to cover, if you want, if you're Beth's dad and you have any feedback on how I'm leading these conversations, I'm always willing to hear that feedback. So my email is nicklr@commercient.com. But for everyone else, please reach out to sales@commercient.com or just comment on this video.
If you get an email from Beth's dad, I must be involved in that exchange. I would be so happy.
John, you can CC
Kimberly C@commercient.com.
There you go. Great. Okay. Well, that's it for today. We're done. Thank you, everyone. Bye, everyone. See you later.
Oh, the last one was way more exciting. Thanks, everyone.